Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. We are here with my friend, my very dear friend, and our guest today, Jennifer Love. Jennifer, thank you for being here with us.
I was thinking today, I was like, how many years has it been? It's been a long time.
Oh my gosh, it's been 10 years maybe?
I think something close.
Maybe 9 or 10 years. Oh my gosh, so long. Even though we're both 21, we don't know how we met when we were children. That's how that happened. And I'm so excited to talk to you today about our money metamorphosis. So I'm going to tell everyone about you. I've known Jennifer through several iterations as she has of me. We've known each other, as we said, for many years and just grown as entrepreneurs. And she's, I mean, 5 or 6 times ahead of me. So I'm excited to share this conversation about wealth and money and our money mindset and all of those things. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about Jennifer before we start. So Jennifer is an award-winning five-time entrepreneur with 20 years under her belt, under her comfy kids. I love that. And she has worked beside celebrity entrepreneurs like Marcus Lemons. Is it Lemons? Lemonis.
Ramones.
Lemonis. Yes, it is.
Mhm,
She's
mhm.
also prepared entrepreneurs for Shark Tank, and she has a master's degree along with 2 decades of training in human and organizational behavior. Jennifer is now the founder and CEO of the Living Wealthy Institute, and she has a great event coming up in March that we're going to tell you about around your money metamorphosis. But today I have some money questions for Jennifer, plenty of questions. I'll try not to make them too personal because you guys know I have asked selfish questions. But we're going to talk about money a little bit, wealth, what that really means. And then anyone watching, if you have any questions, make sure to pop them into the comments. Even if you're catching the replay, I try to tell people to still write a comment in there and just tag myself or Jennifer so we can respond to you at a later time because I know everybody's busy and doing all the Zooms and all the things. But Jennifer, again, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, yeah. So fun to come do this and have a nice conversation about money.
I know it is something that, okay, let's start there. Why do you
Mhm.
think some of us, especially as women, but maybe, a few good men too, have issues even talking about money sometimes or have difficulty around it?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, that's a great question. Well, you know, 90% or more of our financial based decisions are coming from how we're feeling or what we're thinking.
Hmm.
Um, and only I know logic and analysis is technically thinking, um, but only 10% of financial decisions are actually really coming from analysis or thoughtfulness. So we are, in large part, as leaders, as humans, making money decisions, wealth decisions based on how we're feeling, what's going on emotionally for us. And why are we avoiding it? Well, because the top emotions around money tend to be shame and fear and guilt, right? So if we're feeling shame, the reaction that most people are having when they feel shame is to go hide, right? And
Hmm.
to not be with that because that's a very heavy emotion. Um, and so I find in my work that more than 50% of leaders are avoiding numbers, money, looking at it, tracking it, wanting to really dig in and understand it. And I think my hypothesis is that it has to do with what's happening emotionally for us.
Would you say that you find that we have shame and guilt whether people have a lot of money or whether you don't have a lot of money? Because I think
Mhm.
people might associate shame and guilt around, oh, I'm so, guilty or shameful about it because I don't make as much money as I want to or whatever it is. Whereas I think, or I've even witnessed, even some people with money feel some shame about them having money. So do you
That's
find that
right.
it can be on both sides?
Yeah, it's a really interesting paradox what goes on, right? Scarcity runs rampant whether we have money or we don't have money. It's not about the money. Money's like eggplant. It takes
Hmm.
on whatever flavor of energy we're giving it.
Like eggplant. I thought you were going to say money is energy. We've heard that before. I've never heard like eggplant. that's, a good, that's a good one. It takes on whatever flavor. So tell us what you mean.
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, money is energy, right? But it's the energy that's inside of us. And so whatever's going on emotionally, mentally for us around how we're feeling or what we're thinking about money, that's what is like going into that eggplant called money. right?
Mhm.
And so it's taking on whatever we are giving it, and that's what it tastes like. That's what it feels like. It's like we put eggplant with marinara sauce, and it tastes like marinara sauce, right?
Mhm.
And we're like, we can't even tell it's eggplant. It's just marinara sauce, right? Well, that's what money is doing with us as well. It's just taking on whatever is actually happening inside of us. So money is that energy. What's actually the important question is not what money is. The important question is what's going on inside of me about how I'm relating with my own sense of value or deservingness in exchange in the world, right? And so coming back to, gosh, what's going on for people, around fear and shame or guilt, whether they have money or don't have money, it's one and really the same, except it kind of this the narrative begins to switch to, well, I feel guilty that I have all this money. Maybe I've inherited it, or maybe I've made lots of money, but now I feel like I'm making it off the back of my team because I'm not working as hard as my team is anymore. And so I literally feel guilty about that. Right. I see so many different expressions of that, but really underneath all of that is this sense of feeling like I don't deserve. I'm
Mhm.
somehow underneath that not enough, right? And so it usually comes back to that I'm not enough story in some way, shape, or form.
Right. And so, how do you help your clients, and through your work with the Living Wealthy Institute, how do you help them sort of shift
Mhm.
that? Well, like you said, it's not even about your approach to money, it's more about how you feel about it or what's going on inside of you. How do you get us to
Mhm.
that point where we know when to stop and sort of take those moments to reflect?
Yeah, well, I'll start us with a story really quick,
Hmm.
and I'll take us back to the 3-year-old me, and then I'll bring us back to answer your question. So the 3-year-old me, I was standing in our home, our family home in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and my brother was sleeping in his bedroom, and my parents were behind their bedroom door, and I was standing in the hallway. It was like some kind of like a late afternoon day, and my parents were fighting, and they were yelling. Like I could especially hear my father yelling, um, and I could hear him punching the holes in the walls. I'm standing there and I'm feeling pretty afraid at this point, right? Not really knowing what to do. And before I know it, my father comes walking out the door, past me down the hallway and out the front door of the house. I turn, I look at my mother, and she's sitting on the bed and she's crying. And so I go to her and I crawl up on the bed, and next to her, I see the cut up credit cards. And she looks at me and she says, your father's leaving. He's not coming back. We don't have any more money. And I don't know what to do. That was a lot to lay on a 3-year-old, Elaine.
Oh my
That
God.
was a lot
You're
to lay
like,
on
I
a
don't know what
3-year-old.
to do either.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so,
Wow.
we went from, my father was an entrepreneur. We, had a very nice life, a rich life, you might say. And that was the day that my mother, I witnessed her become financially disempowered. And
Mm.
she never really fully recovered from that. And uh, we went from that to living in poverty for a while. And we lived in the ant house, the rat house, we were on the food stamps, the whole bit for a while. And lived with my grandparents for a period, the whole thing, right? But I
Mhm.
think, what's interesting, is that I took on several narratives about what this all meant, right? Now, this technically is my first money memory at 3, right? A lot of people don't trace their money back memories back quite that far. But for me, my father leaving the way that he did, not paying child support, not caring for us, I made that mean, oh, I'm not lovable. I'm not good enough for him to stay, right? This is a really common story.
Mhm.
My story in its own expression is mine, but this is such a common thing that we as children, as humans, experience. And my expression of that not enough story started to play out in the achiever in me because, well, then I wanted to prove that I was
That
enough.
I am enough. Right.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, and so here I was, one of actually my number one strength on the StrengthsFinder test 2.0 is achiever. So I like to get shit done. I like to do stuff. Like I'm like
Right.
the let's push the make it happen button,
You
right?
are. That's why you're a five-time entrepreneur.
Right,
Probably more.
right, right. And so, in high school, I was on the flag team and the piano lessons and the voice lessons and won an art competition and was, and the marching our band down the Rose Parade and, won a competition at Universal Studios singing and blah, 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 and on and on and on it went. And by the time I was 29, I had my master's degree in organizational and human development and behavior. And I was running a mortgage bank with over 100 employees. And, one of my clients had hired me to come take over for a period of time. And by the time I'm 30, I'm running Nibmore, a wholesale international, what became an international chocolate company. And that's still going quite well today. And yet here I find myself, all these years later, all these accolades, all this credibility, all this success, the properties, the investments, la, 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 la. And Elaine, I was miserable inside. And so from the outside looking in, it looked like I had made it. I was wealthy.
Right, and successful from the outside, right?
That's right. Right. Except why did I not feel that way? And so to me, with the Living Wealthy Institute, I'm looking at wealth from not only the financial freedom, right? The assets, the investments, the liabilities, the debts, right? All of what makes us financially free so that we can choose to work or not work, right? Ultimately, and everyone's number is different around that. What they want or desire is different. And that's something to dig underneath and pack. Like, why do you actually want that?
Right. Right.
What's actually running that story, right? But I really came to that crossroads right after I left Nibmore and said, wait a minute, like there's more here to being wealthy. And so I began to really turn back to my roots with the psychology and the human development and the economics and the business, and look at, okay, there's another big piece, very important part of this equation that I'm missing. And I think so many of us are, right?
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, sharing your story. And I'm sure, even if people don't directly relate to obviously the exact experience, I was thinking back to some things from my childhood that I did an interview earlier today and was reflecting on things that happened in my childhood, how it affected the way I think about support, or that I did think about support until I knew something different. But it's so strange isn't the right word. It's just actually something for us to be aware of how these things that we might not even remember until we really sit and reflect that happened when we were younger, or how that moment, like for you, was so pivotal. If you were just going on about your life and not being aware, you might not even realize, oh, this is the reason that I formed this particular narrative around money. Yeah. So why would you say it's important for us, especially for those watching who are entrepreneurs or business leaders, to get clear on what our relationship is with money and how we think about money? And if anyone else has questions, ask here. Hi, Barbara. Barbara said, hi, goddesses. I love that. Yes. Hi, Barbara. We were talking about you earlier, and someone else is writing comments, but I don't know why it doesn't show your name here. But you always say, I have no money because I choose what to do with it. Great job, ladies. Just great feedback. Thank you. I can't see who you are. I want to share who you are. But anyone have questions, please let me and Jennifer know. So Jennifer, as business leaders, why do we need to figure this out?
Yeah. Well, I mean, going back to if 90+% of our financial decisions are being made based on what's happening on the inside of us, our emotionality, well, we might want to check that out. We might want to take a look at that, because ultimately what I see, my how I hold wealth, and living wealthy, true wealth, the measurement of true wealth to me is living wealthy. And to me, living wealthy is two parts, right? It is the financial freedom, right? The existing wealthy part, but it's also the being wealthy. It's the internal freedom. And so what do we need and what happens? Well, if we actually examine this, we can set ourselves up to have the financial freedom. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, we all desire that. We all want that kind of security or that flexibility or that ability to choose and have ease and spaciousness in our life around those kinds of things. But equally important, if not more, I might argue, is the being wealthy. And so what I find happens for leaders when they do this kind of work is not only is their profitability increasing or their revenue is increasing, their net worth is increasing, there's more money in the bank, they tend to work less hours. So they're not working as hard. A big narrative that I see amongst leaders is making money has to be hard. right?
Mhm.
And we make it hard. Therefore, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Possibly,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, but what I also find is like a real big benefit is that the anxiety that tends to run very large, especially for women, and men too. But women have a special relationship with anxiety, I find. And
That's right.
we have a very special relationship with anxiety. Yeah. Get the CBD oil. But
Right.
but in all seriousness, um, this kind of work actually eliminates. It doesn't just reduce, it actually helps to eliminate anxiety. It also frees us up to be more fully expressed. I find that so many leaders, women leaders, especially because that's who I've worked primarily with these last 10 years around this body of work, is, they're badasses in their own right and they're doing incredible things, and yet the freedom to feel like they can be themselves, to express themselves and be who they are doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel like what they can do or know how to do. And so this body of work also helps them just become more free and more full, develops relationships, it creates more clarity. I mean, the list goes on, Elaine, but I think anxiety and self-expression are two big benefits of this work, let alone, the sense of feeling confident and feeling more joyful and feeling more free in yourself, right? And then really, I mean, of course, everyone comes in wanting the more money in the bank, but
Right.
what my clients end up saying is that really is just the cherry on the top.
Right. It's so much more under that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question here from, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Is it NC? Let me know if that's wrong. But she says, how does one self-reflect if that's how it is done? And how can this intelligence be passed on? So how does one self-correct? Is that right? Self-correct if that's how it's done, and how can that be passed on? So
Yeah.
how do we self-correct if we find, I'm imagining, I don't want to make this up, but if we find
Yeah.
that we're going in a direction that's maybe not as healthy as we wanted to do or as prosperous as we'd like to be, how do we know how to course correct?
Yeah. You go treasure hunting. Uh,
Oh,
and see, I love this question. Thanks for asking it. Really, for what I've identified through my body of work is this living wealthy wheel, I call it, right? And the first step, and this isn't anything new about a principle. The principle is the same across most disciplines, but that is awareness. The first step is to identify what's actually going on. What are those monsters under the bed? What are the things that are actually running you in the four different wealth zones, I call them, right? So, INSEE, a great opportunity is to sit down and actually do some what I call contemplation. That's self inquiry. Begin to ask yourself even a simple question. It's super simple, but when you listen to me say it, see if you can feel what actually happens in your body or what comes up for you emotionally when I ask this question. Okay, here we go. What are you avoiding because you're afraid to look, right? And this is specifically around your finances. What are you avoiding because you're afraid to look? Or what is it that you don't want other people to know about you and your financial situation, and why? Right? Now, simple questions. These things do not have to be hard, Elaine. Contemplation like this, when we really sit down and we really take the time to think about it, contemplate on it, it gives us clues. That's what I call the harvesting. It gives us these clues about, what's going
I
on
know.
for me?
Listen, I'm getting my little stickies out here. I'm like, what were those questions again? I don't know about NG. I think that's how you pronounce it. Good. I'm so glad you asked this question. What are you avoiding?
Because you're afraid
Right?
to look at your
Because you're
finances.
afraid to look.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
You're
And
afraid to look.
and
Hmm.
what do you not
What
want other
don't you
people
want?
to know? And about your money situation and why?
Okay. And is this a question, again, no matter what stage of our wealth journey we're in?
Mhm.
Okay. So don't think, oh, I have money, or, and this is, not my, Jennifer says, ask yourself this question. What don't you want? I'm going to reflect on this.
Yeah.
Others to know.
Yes, and, a couple more I'll give a couple more great questions. What emotion comes up when you think about spending money?
Okay.
What emotion comes up when you think about receiving money?
Mm.
And
That I Go ahead.
you can take this all the way through in, investing, giving, right? You can take this through a variety of different kinds of exchange of money and see what comes up for you and why. Why? So, again, super simple, doesn't have to be hard. And yet, sitting and journaling and reflecting through contemplation on these things gives you clues as to what's going on for you. That's helping you get that first step on that living wealthy wheel, which is awareness, identifying what's actually happening. Once we get access to that, then we get to that construct of choice, the foundation of what's running us and why, what's happening here. What are those monsters on the bed? How did they get here? And what happens for most people, Elaine, is they do one of two things. Either the three-headed drama llama comes out. I call it the three-headed drama llama.
Right.
And it's like the inner critic, the victim, all of the voices, the bully, all of that is coming out. Or we're like, wow, well, no wonder. Of course, right? And then we can access that self-compassion for ourselves about, well, gosh, no wonder this has been happening all of this time. Now that I know this, what do I need to do? But if the three-headed drama llama shows up, well, I have a whole workshop series that I do on that.
Right.
But if the three-headed drama llama shows up, then we've got to do the work on that to unpack that so that we can access that compassion. Once we get to compassion, then we can begin the excavation phase. And it's kind of like a garden, right? We all need to keep going through this because the soil of a garden has different layers, right? It has that topsoil, and then we've got the rocky area, then we get into the boulders, and underneath that, eventually we get to sandy soil, right? And so even if for those who may have done some of this kind of work, it's not like, oh, I'm all done, I'm set for life. No, we're humans. Congratulations, we're all human. We're constantly evolving. We can take this deeper, just like Mother Nature shows us, and keep excavating. And once we're excavating, then it's like, okay, well, we got to get into that practice field. That's the integration phase. We don't become masterful with our emotions and our new thoughts and ways and beliefs of being overnight. I mean, do we decide that I want to be a soccer champion and then the next day we're like on the field winning championships? No.
No. Right. It takes practice.
It takes practice. So we understand this in our physical wealth zone, like the kind of the behaviors, but we don't necessarily have the same kind of level of appreciation or patience when it comes to our emotionality or our mental wealth zone. And yet we need practice and it takes time. Our brain is kind of like a puppy. It takes time to train that puppy. Right? Yeah.
Yes.
So Incy, I hope that helps a little bit.
Yes, listen, I hope so too, because it helped me. I wrote all the questions down. I am going to journal, look, a horrible handwriting. I am going to journal this later. I think that's so important, especially, and Barbara said, love these questions. Thank you, Barbara. Excellent. Oh, good. And she said, yes, excavation. Excellent.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to make sure to, I'm sorry, what were you going to say, Jennifer?
I was just going to finish that model. I'm like, let me finish the model for them. So once
yes, absolutely.
once we excavate and then we begin to really fully integrate and we practice and we practice and practice over time with that commitment, that's when we begin to really embody the ability to live wealthy in that particular wealth zone, in that particular thing that we've been working on. Yeah. So I just wanted to finish that out for Incy there.
Yes, great. And Incy said, yes, excavation, it does help. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you for your question. That was wonderful. I'm sure that helped a lot of folks. As I mentioned, I know it's going to help me. And again, this is anyone who, wherever you are in your wealth journey. So Jennifer speaking to all of us. One thing I wanted to ask before we let you go is about, wanted to acknowledge, a lot of people are facing hard times because of COVID, especially a lot of business owners, where people are trying to figure it out. People are either transitioning, pivoting, all the other things that we're all trying to do. And money is usually a part of that. If your business has been closed for the past, year now, almost a year now, or you've struggled and that kind of thing. So I wanted to ask, with these questions and with your work overall, is this something that you feel would be certainly important for people who might be in that stage as well? So if the financial troubles or struggles, even if you had a great relationship with money, you didn't plan for your restaurant to be closed for a year, right? So is there any advice, or would you say the work that you're doing through your event that's coming up would be good for people in that situation as well?
Yeah, for sure. For all
Mhm.
stages, right? Because this work, regardless of where we are, and remember, we talked about whether you have money or you don't
Or
have
you
money,
don't. Right.
we can be running that
Or
same.
you've hit a hard time, right?
That's right, or you've hit a hard time. It the flavor of eggplant is taking on what's happening inside of you. So what's happening
Yeah.
inside your relationship with your money, is what's happening inside of you. And it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be like that. I know because I'm doing it. I know because I'm helping other people do it. So yeah, the event, is a great place to come. And Elaine, will you drop the link to.
Yes, the link is in the description for everyone, wherever you're viewing this, LinkedIn, Facebook. If you don't see it on Twitter, you can send me a message and I'll put it there. But the link should be in the description, everyone, for Jennifer's event, March 16th through 18th,
Yeah,
your money metamorphosis.
yeah, and even if you can't come for the whole thing, we're gonna be recording it, so you can watch
Hmm.
it at your leisure as well.
Oh,
Um,
perfect.
but this is a
So
three-day event that is designed to really help leaders
all
regardless.
online.
Yeah, all online, virtual, to really help leaders regardless of where they are, with their finances, what hard time or not, right? This is designed to help you increase your net worth, but also to live truly wealthy, right? So we're going to unpack and we're going to create plans. We're going to unpack what's going on for you, kind of like some of what we've been talking about today. Create your wealth blueprint, right? So I'm gonna walk you through a lot of things to really set you up, for the existing wealthy and the being wealthy, so we can be financially free and internally free, because both really matter. And so that's what we're going to be doing at this event. So yeah, I'd love for anyone to come and join us. It'd be fun.
Yes, and everyone, again, the link is there. You can see it. If you have any questions, please mention me or direct me. I don't, all the things to get to, however you get to me or to Jennifer. Again, if you're watching this later, make sure that if you do have a question after this, put it in the comments, tag us. We'll make sure to get back to you and answer in whatever way we can. And then if you have any questions about the event, go to the link. It'll go to the website. It'll show you all the information. That's March 16th through 18th. It's all online. And Jennifer says if you miss those dates, the recording will be available after, right?
That's right. That's right.
Excellent. Good, Jennifer. I could talk to you forever about this. I have so many more questions, girl. Get all in my financial business. But this is fantastic. I appreciate you so much. Everyone, thank you so much for the questions. Barbara, NG, thank you so much. Everyone here, we appreciate you. And Jennifer, we will see you on March 16th. Hold on just a second, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, everyone. See you later.